Welcome to the TastyBrains podcast. I'm your host, Paulie Donuts, with special guest, Blake Jamieson. Blake, we are live. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Paulie.
I am super pumped. Sorry to interrupt you already. I'm super pumped to have you on the show. It's such a funny thing starting off this podcast adventure, much like other people's adventures, like your art adventure that's still growing on that journey. And for me, it was super nervous the first couple times. Then it's like, all right, just DM every single person that you want to talk to until they say yes. And 90% of the time, I get a no or a no response. But when I do get a response from someone like yourself, I'm fucking running around the house. My wife's like, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" And I'm like, "Dude said yes. He's coming on the podcast. It's badass." And she's like, "All right, fucking calm down. Jesus, I thought somebody died or something." And so I'm very appreciative and excited that you're on the podcast. I can't thank you enough. I just got done telling you that, time is precious, especially for busy people around the holidays. And, just want to thank you. If anyone doesn't know who's listening, like my mom or somebody like that, Blake Jamieson is a world-renowned artist and has his hands in many fields, NFTs still, heavily works with tops, works with other athletes. He's known for his amazing, if you can see it, some of his amazing pieces of artwork that end up on trading cards, which some of them I'm very obsessed with, especially that one. And yeah, man, that's my long intro for you, and I thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, happy to be here. I'm glad you DM'd me, and maybe we'll get into it in the podcast. But the way that I built my business in the sports world was DMing athletes until they said yes. And so I know that game well, and it's definitely just a numbers game.
So, that's right. Just keep throwing the stuff on the wall till it sticks.
That's right.
My first question to you: are you still carrying 3 business cards and a Sharpie?
It's a great question. No, I don't really carry business cards anymore.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've thought about making new ones. I have like a fun archive of like all the business cards I've ever had in my life.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times I was out socializing and just carrying a couple to make sure that I made them all count. But now I hope that my reputation precedes me and I don't need business cards.
Good call. I'm sure it does. I watched that video not too long ago, and I was like, that's a really damn good idea, even though I think the video was like 7 or 8 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, what you were doing at that time, but it looked like things were starting to bubble up for you heavily around then, from what it looks like.
Yeah,
and I thought that
one was actually close to 10 years ago. It was at the end of my digital marketing career.
Okay.
At the tail end of that. And yeah, just putting out content. And it's cool that, a lot of it holds up. It's timeless stuff, I think.
I mean, it's funny. A lot of people say that, you got that. I remember when I was getting out of the Navy, they make you go to this like fucking thing called TAPS, and everybody hates it. Everyone hates it. I mean, you got guys that have been in the Navy for 35 years in there. You got kids that have been only in there for 4 years, but they're getting out. And you're going to the real world, and they're showing you the real world, and you got to have a bank account, and you got to have, this is how you do an interview, and you have to have life insurance, all these things. Well, and they go through this one part about the elevator interview thing. And, you got, if you're in an elevator with, you name it, Jeff Bezos, how are you going to pitch it? And what are you going to say? So they make you like stand up in front of the room, and you just sound like a complete jackass. And then they're like, all right, go practice it tomorrow. And it's funny, when I was watching your business card thing, I go, well, I mean, that's one hell of a way. Instead of, you can't really bum rush the rock and be like, hey man, want you on the podcast, or I want to draw a picture of you. They're going to be like, okay. But I think in that video you mentioned, take your time, get to know them, find some mutual ground. And then at the end, drop the business card. These days, in the digital world. Not doing that too much. But you mentioned making the switch from digital marketing into what you're doing now. What was the, I don't know, the thing that in your head that said you were always doing art, right? And I know you were big into sports as a kid.
That's right. Yeah, I was always making art as a hobby and enjoyed playing sports as a kid and watching some as an adult. Um, the biggest turning point was my 30th birthday, and
Hmm.
just realizing that uh, at that point I'd worked in marketing for 8 years and worked my way up that kind of corporate ladder and had like a pretty comfortable position and salary, but I really wasn't excited about what I was doing every day. And I was looking forward to Fridays and, dreading Mondays. And I just decided that life was too short to live it looking forward to Fridays. I wanted every day to feel like a Friday. And so when I quit that career, first of all, I always knew like marketing is the tactics, day-to-day tactics might change, but like the overarching ideas remain, right? The channels might change from physical mail to email to social media, but you still want to like connect with those customers. And so I knew that it was something that I could always come back to, even if I had spent some time away from it and was out of touch with like the latest Facebook ad policies or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I just wanted to do something that made me happy every day. And in the brief time really after my previous job had ended and I was just kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, I went to Barcelona, Spain, and there's a lot of graffiti and street art there, which is type of art that has always kind of spoken to me and inspired me.
Same.
And that's kind of what like rekindled and reminded me, oh yeah, you like to make art. And by that point, like I had done marketing of like so many different brands and product offerings, some of which were exciting to me and some of which were not. And so knowing that like I could go and sell just about anything on the internet, I figured I might as well just give it a shot and try to sell something that I really enjoy creating.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, pivoted
What
into art.
What were the first kind of art things you were doing? I mean, was it sports right away, or what were you
It
drawing?
wasn't.
Because because art, for people that don't know, is not, even if you're gifted like Blake is, you can't just pick up the pencil and start making these intricate, amazing designs and pictures. Just even if you are gifted, you still got to work at it. It's a mastery thing over time. And I'm
Mhm.
sure, Blake, you draw every day,
Paint, yeah.
paint every day. Sorry.
Paint was kind of my medium, and so because of that street art and graffiti inspiration, I was really drawn to spray paint
Okay.
and stencils, which are um, I cut out by hand, and you're basically cutting out holes where you want paint to be able to go through and make something. And so I spent probably 6 months or so just painting every day and not trying to sell my work or like commercialize it or even like picking a niche. I just wanted to like improve my confidence painting so that I felt good selling them to my friends. And I did start at the time, like was very active on Facebook. I'm not anymore. I would share my art and people would sometimes comment or message me saying, "Hey, how much is that? I want to buy that one." And for that first bit of time, I wasn't comfortable yet. And I said, "Well, I'm not selling work yet, but as soon as I am, I'll let you know."
Mm-hmm.
And I basically made a list of the people that were interested for myself so that when I was ready, I came back to all those people and I said, "Okay, I'm ready to sell some work. Here's what I have to offer." And fortunately, had a lot of support from those people that bought the first day that I sold paintings online. I offered 10 of them for sale and they all sold that day, which was great.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it was really cool. And then I kind of, because that was like a big event, I sold 10 in one day. That was a good confidence thing. And then I said, okay, I can sell my work. And so I was, selling here and there. Every once in a while, I'd sell a painting. And then at the end of that first year, so it was about 6 months of practice, 6 months of just kind of selling to my own internal network on Facebook. Uh, I had the idea to choose my niche based on like who my customer, what, like I could go and choose like, oh, my customer is this,
Yeah.
or I could just like look at the data, right? So I made a list of every painting that I'd sold it up to that point. It was only like maybe 20 paintings, 15 or 20 paintings. And I listed who it was, what they did for work, and where the painting was hanging. And so I asked each of them, said, hey, just curious, where did you hang that up? And because I had been in the marketing and digital kind of scene, most of my contacts were in that same kind of world, right? So
Right.
my paintings, those first 20 paintings ended up in a lot of home offices, some proper offices like marketing agencies, PR firms, and startups.
Right.
And so then it just kind of clicked for me that I'm like, oh, cool. My art ends up in offices. And so my first niche was I will make dope art for your office.
No, badass.
That was my pitch. And I said, you could go and you could buy like the generic canvas prints that like everyone puts the same picture on their
Target.
wall. It's like, yeah, exactly. Like Target or Ross or Amazon or whatever.
Right.
And so, I was very much, and I still am a fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, but like in that whole like hustle mentality, go make it happen,
Right.
entrepreneur spirit. And so I leaned that direction for my art. It was kind of this inspirational, motivational, go hustle artwork in the style of like graffiti and street art, with the target market of this is going to go and look good on your office wall. And I did that for about a year, I guess, and thrived in that scene. I had a leg in, like a foot in the door. And
Did you sell art to your old digital marketing firm you were with? Here, guys.
yeah, so the CEO of that company did buy a couple pieces,
That's awesome.
one for his home and one he put in the office. But yeah, I mean, I got to work with a lot of like previous clients and
Tapped in.
colleagues and stuff that I knew from that scene.
Smart.
And I think that if I had just, and also because I was focused on like the art stuff, or sorry, on the office, like professional life, being my end client, I actually kind of leaned into LinkedIn and
Oh, wow.
started marketing a lot there. Just putting content that most people would put on Instagram. I would go and put it on LinkedIn and write a little post about it. And I got some people saying like, put this on Instagram. This doesn't belong here. But now we've seen kind of the rise of LinkedIn and the variety of content there. And I think I was pretty, and that worked well. And I think if I had just like stayed in that lane, I probably would be like the guy for like office art in the world or whatever.
Right.
But fate had a different plan. I was at a concert and I had been delivering art to a client in Las Vegas. I went to a concert after, and I met this guy who had previously played in the NFL. His name was Jared Faison. He also went to Florida. He was a Florida Gator, and I was a Gators fan as a kid. So we just had kind of this instant connection. We just vibed. We ended up at the bar and both were ordering the same drink.
Badass.
And, yeah. Whiskey drinkers stick together, I guess. And yeah, so I showed him my work and I said, this is what I do. And he said, oh, you should paint for athletes. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I think I should paint. I think I should paint for athletes, but athletes don't think that yet.
You got Jordan's number real quick?
So he's like, oh, well, I rep athletes now. I'm a manager and I have a couple NFL clients, and I can help you get your foot in the door if you'll just do a couple free ones, and then they'll share it on social media. And, I didn't have a jam-packed schedule at that point. So I'm like, all right, screw it. I'll do a couple free paintings and see how this goes. And I did 3 paintings for 3 of his clients and got to deliver each of them in person and take the photos and get the Instagram posts. And it pretty much was like 1 for 1. Every time I did a free painting, I ended up getting a paid painting from a teammate, because these guys are all competitive. They see that one guy's got something and they're like, oh, I need a bigger one. Just like this in their nature. And that like basically kicked off right away. I did those couple free ones. Some teammates of those guys saw them and purchased some paintings. And then I just really like leaned into that, not only that like avenue of marketing my art with some free work, but also the niche of athlete portraits seemed really exciting to me. And so I like changed my LinkedIn profile to say that I was the premier portrait artist for professional athletes.
That's awesome.
which I think it still says today. Actually, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at LinkedIn in a while, but yeah, I rode that wave, man, and I continued to work with athletes for many years, mostly in the NFL, but kind of would branch out, and either I would reach out to athletes in other sports, or sometimes eventually they started reaching out to me. And then one of those times that someone's reaching out was Tops, wanting to do baseball cards, which
Amazing.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Especially for someone like you, San Francisco guy, right?
yeah.
Grew
Yeah.
up in
And
San
I mean,
Francisco.
I mean, I'm in Marin County, north of SF, but we grew up going to Oakland A's games, and
Right.
really just because it was warmer at the Oakland stadium than it was at Candlestick, which is where the
Oh,
Giants were playing at the time.
nice.
Yeah.
And so when Tops calls, are you like pumped? Obviously pumped.
Yeah, really pumped. I had just moved to New York earlier that year, and this was in 2019. Or I guess I moved to New York in 2018. 2019, Topps got a hold of me for a project that was launching in 2020. And I didn't know what to expect financially, but I thought that, like, at least fulfillment wise, it felt really cool to like do baseball cards that, like, I grew up collecting baseball cards. And
Yeah, it's
Mark
wild.
McGuire, was my childhood idol, and Mark McGuire ended up being in the set that they had me do in 2020.
I was
My
gonna say,
first.
but that was Project 2020, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And you is was that is would that be your favorite guy you've gotten to draw, I guess, for Tops? Is him? Do you get to
Yeah.
pick? Did you get to say I
Uh,
would like to do Ronnie Acuna, or whoever?
Uh, I didn't in Project 2020. That was a fixed list.
Okay.
But in the follow-up Project 70 set that I did, which that Acuna that you were holding, I
Yeah,
chose that. I chose Acuna, and I also chose that reference photo. That set in Project 70, we had a ton of freedom to, within the list of who they have licenses for, we could pick anyone. And so there were
that's
some
awesome.
guys that we couldn't do. I really wanted to do a Michael Jordan baseball card,
Mm,
which would have been cool, but
God, that'd have been insane.
yeah, but Topps didn't have the license for that. I also wanted to do Kyler Murray. He
Oh
signed with
yeah.
like the A's briefly before his NFL.
Russell Wilson would have been another one, baseball.
Yeah, yeah. So I was really trying to like lean into like that kind of crossover athlete.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah,
It'd have been cool to see a Bo Jackson, the super sports pose, where he's in the
Mhm. Got the
shoulder
football
pads and the
pads.
bat.
Yeah, football pads in the bat. Yeah. Yeah,
Iconic.
that picture was actually like on one of my lists for that set, and ended up going in a different direction. But I did do um, a bow project with a company called Pristine Auctions, where we did these like
Uh-huh.
fine art prints, and then Bo signed all of them, which is cool. So I have a signed print and the original of that painting. So
Oh
since I
wow.
had already done a bow and got it signed by him, and I just felt like I checked that box.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's funny how many artists there are on. I mean, not only that are linked up with the Project 70 thing and Tops and all that. I run across him on Twitter quite a bit. I wish I remembered his name. It's hyper realist. So like it's like you're there. The pictures, he's like one of those kind of artists.
Greg
And
Chandler.
yeah, yeah, he's
Mhm.
got like a crazy Jordan picture he's been working on, and I'm like,
Mhm.
I've DM'd him a couple times. I'm like, how much is one of those? And he goes, if you have to ask, it's probably expensive. My
Yeah,
wife is like, yeah, it's probably like $50,000. I'm like, yeah, I probably put it more than that, but that's amazing.
yeah.
And I
Greg's
love,
oh,
yeah,
sweet, really nice guy too.
and his old school baseball stuff. Like he's got a Lou Gehrig picture that he's done, and I'm like, just blown away. But it's the same with every one of these cards that comes out. Some of them I'm like, yeah, it's not really my style, or I'm not into it. Just like all
Mhm.
art, for people, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
But and that the Acuna card, the reason I kept it next to me, people that know me that are close to me, that I was like you, and like many people, fell out of cards for a little while. Life
Mhm.
and girls and all those things start to happen. You're like, I don't need cards; it's for kids. same reaction I get to this day when people ask me what do I do, and I say I sell sports cards, and every time they think I say sports cars, and they want to like, hey, so what kind of cars do you sell? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Cards. Oh, and then they usually just kind of fade off in the distance. They're like, yeah, we don't need to talk to you, child. But the Ronnie Acuna card that you did is one of the cards that got me back into card collecting, because I saw the picture and I'm like, this is one of the best photos on a baseball card I've ever seen. And now that I'm into it full bore, there's so many great photos and drawings and pictures out there.
Yeah.
Do you still collect now? Do you open cards and all that?
I do, man. I got a box right here of Allen and Ginter that I just
did you get you?
Not in this box. I got 2 boxes, and we got one of my cards in the other box that I opened with my niece and nephew.
Nice. Any woolly mammoth teeth?
Not this time. No. There's some wild ones in that set. It's cool because I was at after dinner in like hometown. Basically, I went to a dinner that was a restaurant that was right next to like the original card shop that I would like open cards at as a kid. And I popped in there, and Bobby was there, who's the owner, and so I had to buy a couple boxes and catch up with him.
That's badass.
I had like some of my own cards in my truck that I was able to drop off and give to him. He knew what I've been up to, but hadn't seen like a lot of the new stuff.
All right, what are you working on now? Are you working on new top stuff or new different card company stuff?
Yeah, a little bit of each. On the tops front, I'm just finishing up my Star Wars set for this year, and I actually thought I was finished, and then Star Wars IP is owned by Disney, and Disney licenses it to Topps, but is still very like engaged in like the approval process of the cards that go out. So I had turned in the last of my cards, and they ended up denying the Han Solo that I did, and told me to go back to the drawing board, which is fine. Out of 20 cards, they did that twice, and to me, that's a fine price to pay to be able to like work with Disney and Star Wars for the resume that hopefully I'll never need.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan too, kind of a later in life Star Wars fan. In my adulthood, I've really come to enjoy it. And so that was a really fun set. And I don't really know what's next. You know, I have a card in the Ginter set and some autographs in there, which are fun to chase. And that like feels like it keeps me relevant on like the sports card discussion on Twitter. Right. It's like I didn't do any baseball this year. I just did the Star Wars set with them. And
it's rocking on Twitter, man. Star Wars is crushing.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It's a really cool it's a cool story. It's a cool IP.
Are you still watching did you watch Andor? Not to go off on a Star Wars rant here, but
I really enjoyed Andor. Obi-Wan, Mandalorian was great. Boba
Mandalorian's crushing.
All of those, all the new ones. I think that Jon Favreau is just doing a phenomenal job building on the storyline that George Lucas started. But really, like, in my opinion, making it his own and putting his own creative fingerprints on how we're consuming and getting that story now, which is really cool.
It's really hard it's so funny. Like, there was a brief time with like Netflix and Amazon. You know how they usually, in the past, especially when they first started out, they would drop the whole season, and you're like addicted. You're just staying up until 2 a.m. like a psycho, you know, trying to finish it. And then it's done, and you're kind of like, all right, what the hell do I watch now? But with Andor, I found myself like Wednesday night, you know, Wednesday morning, I'm, you know, in the gym, and I got it like on my TV, or I'm on the bike, you know, watching it on my phone because I want to know what happens next. I was so in love with Andor. Obi-Wan was okay for me, maybe because it's that seems like just such a hard story to tell now, and Andor is something that they can just yeah, this is what's going on, and you have to believe it because they're building a well-made story. Not just like harking back to the old Star Wars things and kind of recycling them for me. But yeah,
Yeah, but like, and spoiler alert, if anyone hasn't watched these shows,
yeah,
there's spoilers for this part. But like when Darth Vader came out in the
yeah,
at the end of the Obi, I don't know if it was the last or second to last episode. Like those last couple were like, I thought really good.
made the season,
Totally, because
made the
definitely
season.
leading up to before the Vader revealing, it was like, yeah, I wasn't like thrilled with that series.
I needed more Vader.
Yeah,
I needed more
yeah,
Vader versus. They could have just done 5 episodes of Vader versus Obi-Wan, and people would be like, "Man, this is awesome. This
yeah.
is a great show."
I also thought that like Mandalorian kept me hooked to every episode, and then I loved like Boba Fett was a little bit slower for me, but then
Yep.
there were like a couple episodes in the middle where like it was basically just a Mandalorian episode in the middle of the Boba season where uh, I thought that was really fun. Just how they're weaving it together. Like I said, I think Jon Favreau's just killing it.
Yeah, I hope he makes movies. I hope he, I do enjoy the Disney Plus thing, and I know, sadly enough, less and less people are going to the movie theater.
Mm.
But uh, I wish they would just make some. He would be the one that's doing the next trilogy or whatever the hell they're gonna magically do to make me spend my money on.
Yeah.
Um, uh, so I don't. You said you didn't want to. You said you didn't mind talking about anything, and
Mhm.
the children's book.
Mhm.
Uh, to switch out of nerdland with me for a second. What's going on with that?
Yeah. So,
You have a kid, one kid, two kids,
no,
five?
no kids.
No kids. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just living the single uncle life. My sister has
Oh,
two
nice.
kids, 4 and 7. They're a
Party
handful of
time.
fun and sometimes super loud. I don't know if you heard them out there, but they spent the night
Yeah.
last night. They were yelling. But yeah, I have wanted to do a children's book really ever since I like switched over and started doing art full time. I like had this idea in my head that someday I would uh, create a children's book or several. And 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I was on a vacation back here in California from New York in Joshua Tree. And I was, unplugged from the internet, enjoying everything that Joshua Tree has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was sitting out on this like desk or this like patio at dusk, and I was blowing bubbles uh, towards like there was like a row of cactuses and just blowing them and they were just popping and just entertaining myself, and then one of them like perfectly sticks like right on the prick of the cactus and stays there and doesn't pop. And as soon as that happened, I had this like vision flash in my mind where it was a children's book series about bubbles and cactus, which were the unlikely best friends of the desert, and they would go on adventures.
That's
And
awesome.
so yeah, it just like I could just see it all in my head. It just like, oh, it's just one of those things. And I like to lean into like those type of ideas and visions. Like as a creative, you don't know where ideas come from necessarily or when they're going to strike next. And when you get a good one that is keeping you excited, it's good to like lean into it. And
For
so
sure.
I hired an illustrator online. Because too, just for context for people that aren't familiar with my art, all of my art is based on like existing photographs for my
Mhm.
portrait work. I'm not like a freehand artist where I'm just coming up with a drawing just from my head generally. And so knowing that, I mean, I do think that like there's a lot of children's books with varying styles, and like I could probably put together something competent that would like work, but I wanted to focus more on like the story and really like the brand building of like a children's book empire. And so I hired this illustrator named Misael. He lives in Mexico, 20-year-old kid, just out of art school, and just a very fun, approachable, like seemed like a children's book style, right to me. And I came up with with the concept, and I sent him pictures. Actually, I took pictures of the cactus with the bubble on it, and explaining
That's
the
awesome.
idea. Yeah, and he sent back, and this was all still while I was in Joshua Tree. Like I broke my internet fast, which I usually do when I go out to the desert. But I like connected with him online, and had these concepts cooking, and he got them back to me within like a day, and they were just perfect. And I was like, dude,
I bet he did.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was great, man. And so I started working with him on, like, at this point, like, I didn't have any books written or anything, and I didn't even know what I wanted books to be about. I just knew the concepts. And so I just started coming up with like scenarios and like adventure ideas for Bubbles and Cactus to go and do. So like, reading a map and then digging for treasure, or whatever.
Is that what the books are going to be called? Bubbles and Cactus?
Bubbles and Cactus. Yeah, like the overarching series is going to be called like The Adventures of Bubbles and Cactus, but then each
That's
will have
fantastic.
their own little sub thing. And so, I mean, Misael and I have been working together now for 18 months. We've much more like formalized our working relationship, where I volunteered like to cut him in on the book sales, because I'm going to make this thing big, and I don't want him to feel like, hey, this guy paid me a few $1,000 and now he's selling millions of books.
Sure.
So we came up with some a good deal structure, and like I pay him monthly, like a retainer now, and I'd like to get to a point where he just works for me full time, working on these books and illustrations. But we have, I printed out yesterday hard copies of all the illustrations I have, and it was like, it's hundreds of pages of scenes and things. So we have enough content for, I don't know, over 10 books for sure. And
that's amazing.
For writing the stories, it slowly has kind of started crystallizing like what I kind of want to get across with this. And it's really like my own belief system that I've developed, that like anything is possible, and that you should follow your dreams. And it like sounds like cheesy and corny, but I think that like a lot of my friends who do have kids, which is going to be great, because now I'm 38 next week. And so like pretty much all
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Almost all my friends, have kids where they're reading books and they're going through books super, constantly. But like those parents may or may not have had other dreams or aspirations, and then they had kids, and now they're just maybe feel like locked into whatever the parent life, which I know can be wonderful, but it also can be like constraining, right? What you can do, what I can do on a daily basis is very different than what my sister can do, because she has kids that she's responsible for.
100%.
And so I want these stories to be like very fun for the adults, where for the kids, like, yeah, generally like, okay, follow your dreams, anything's possible, you can do whatever you want. But like, there's a lot of like undertone stuff that like, I'm hoping that the adults pick up from it, and realize that like it's not, there's no time limit, right? On like when you can stop, or like when you need to stop following your dreams, you can always follow your dreams. And so I'm excited to kind of bring this like anything's possible, positive mentality, attitude into households where the parents that are reading them are my friends. And so
I love that.
I love it too. And so I've been just writing, I'll come up with like little scenarios or little, anecdotes. And the general idea is like Cactus tends to get into like prickly situations every time he's got some kind of trouble. And Bubbles, who is like a young philosopher, very well traveled. He's been all over the world. He's seen everything. He always comes in with the, cooler heads prevail. Okay, this isn't really a problem. Here's what we're going to do to fix it, and come in with the solution. And so I have kind of that like template formula of what's the problem, and then how are we going to fix it. And then I'm just dropping that like on top of, okay, so let's do this in them like searching for treasure. Okay, this one, like we have a fun like illustration where they play golf in the desert and the gophers are like stealing the balls, and yeah. And so like there's just these fun like visual things that Misael and I are like coming up with, and then I'm coming up with like the overarching ideas I want to get across. And now I'm like fine-tuning those into the stories that will get printed right on those illustrations and published as books. And so I had just put out on Twitter, which I think is, you probably saw it, if I should release the first, like launch the first one before Christmas.
Hell yeah.
I know. I know. I'm thinking that way too now. I wasn't like, I was basically just like locked in to make this like my big project for 2023 and just like really go all in on
Blast
it.
off.
Because like I've had so much fun working on it for 18 months, but I've also like, I mean, I don't even think about it every day for the last 18 months. It's like, oh, one day I'll do a couple hours of like writing out prompts for Misael or like critiquing work or whatever. But like, it's definitely not like I was just bouncing around doing all these other things. And I realized that when and I mentioned with the sports stuff, like I changed my LinkedIn bio immediately saying, I make athlete portraits. Like I'm your guy for that. And then like, I like leaned all the way into that and I didn't think about anything else. I didn't do anything else. Like that was my focus professionally. And like, that's why I think that I was successful, is because I had that like really direct focus. And I want to apply that this year to Bubbles and Cactus and build a fucking dynasty.
Right. And I love it means so much to me these days when people talk about following your dreams. It's, to some people, I think it sounds kind of, I don't know, old timey, in a way, with the digital era being so 15 seconds of paying attention to things and all this. And that's seems more often than not these days, a lot of people's dreams is to make it internet famous and drive a Bugatti, and for some people my mom used to always say this little thing to me: be whatever you want. I'm always going to love you, but you got to, chase your dreams and try to be the best at what you're going to do. And even if you're not Michael Jordan, at least try to be the best. Even if it's, she always used to say, like, even if you're going to be a garbage man, be the best fucking garbage man. If that ends up being your dream, pursue it to the max extent possible. And with life throws you so many turns and curveballs throughout that journey, you kind of lose track of that dream for a little bit, and then the dream comes back, and then maybe you find out that dream wasn't your dream, and you find out what your real dream is. Once you get it, you kind of got to really hold on to that shit, and like you do, go all into it, and don't just say, yes, it is harder with family. I got a 5-year-old and it's no joke. You're balancing. You don't want the kid to feel like, yeah, I'm chasing my dreams, kid, get a life.
Right.
Because all that floods into her. I have a daughter, and everything floods into her. And all I want her to do is chase every dream. And the other day I was asleep and she woke up. Sorry, everybody. This is like a tangent for some reason, but she wakes up. And my wife usually lets me sleep on the weekends because I wake up with her during the week. Mm-hmm. And she goes into her playroom. Wife leaves, close the door. I wake up and I'm like, hey, morning, blah, blah. She's like, your daughter was playing the drums this morning. I'm like, the drums? What are you talking about? The drums? And we don't have any drums. And she's like, well, watch the camera. So we got like a little camera in her playroom, So I'm look back at the footage and she's grabs like a couple bowls and she's clanking on these drums, and I'm like, oh shit, we got to get some drums in this bitch, so she can start playing. My wife's like, that's the last thing we're gonna do. Yeah. So I immediately remember there's this girl, young girl, she's like 10, but she's like a drum prodigy. She's been with like David Grohl and the Foo Fighters.
Yep, I've seen it on Twitter.
And so I turn it on, and every time I turn on TV, my daughter thinks we're gonna watch Bluey, or I'm gonna watch some Disney show or whatever. Speaking of insane mega eruptions of things, Bluey has become like to me is like on an astronomical rise with always a good message, every single episode. Oh yeah. Have you ever watched it?
No.
Oh my goodness. One, it'll make you feel like you are the most underachieving parent on the planet Earth, because the parents of Bluey and Bingo are, their episodes are like 10-15 minutes long. They are always doing things with the kids, and it's hyper creative. It has nothing to do with let's watch a show. They're like doing all these crazy things. So I go on YouTube, I put it on, she's like, Poppy, what are we gonna watch? And I'm like, oh, you'll see. So I put on the Drummer Girl, and she kind of looks at it and she's like, oh. So she runs into her playroom, grabs the bowls, and now she's starting to do the thing with her. And I'm like, look, babe, look, she's going to be a drummer, because I'm always looking, and just like you said, like whatever it is, I want her I wanted to chase those dreams and, not stop. And if I can financially support it, rock and roll, man, let's do it. I don't care what it is. As long as you're not a starving artist.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I went to art school, just like your artist did. Did you go to art school?
No, no. And actually, my parents encouraged me to go that direction, and I resisted because I thought it was not a career.
That's so funny because and it's
I
funny.
was brainwashed by the starving artist, cliche.
I went into it and I wish I would have invested more time. Now I look at, I want to draw. Like my logo I drew, but I hired a graphic designer to make it look logo-y.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things like you find out that wasn't a passion. It was fun. It was more of a hobby. I enjoyed doing it, but only if I was drawing what I wanted to draw and whatnot. And I'll never forget going to art school and thinking, and my mom was super supportive. She was like, "Okay, go be an artist. That's what you're gonna do."
Mhm.
Are obviously your parents are super supportive, especially now. I imagine, but even before, they were like, "Do what you want to do, pursue your dreams." Is that kind of where that carries on from?
Yeah. Definitely, they were always encouraging creativity as a kid. Um, when I quit that job at 30 and moved careers, I also sold my house I was living in Arizona at the time, and I sold that house, which basically bought me the runway that I could work for 6 months or a year and not have to sell art, because I had sold the house, and that was what I had to do to make it happen. But when I did that, I moved back with my parents, at the age of 30, and it was in
No
the same.
shame, brother.
I know that I'm in the same bedroom now. Again, I'm about to be 38, doing it again. But fortunately, we have this like beautiful property in Marin. It's 2 acres,
Oh
with a
wow,
couple barns and a couple houses on the property. My grandma, who owns the property, still lives here too. And my original art studio was set up in one of those barn stalls. And we used to have a horse. We don't anymore. But that was where I taught myself how to paint. And now I'm back
wow,
in the same studio. But now I work, my format's a lot bigger, and I think a lot bigger. And so I'm remodeling it. I blew out a wall, and I added like 8 windows. So I have more natural light. And I'm building like my dream studio uh,
wow.
in the backyard of my parents' house. And
That's
it's
awesome.
cool. It's like, it's cliche, but it's in a lot of the books where, have you ever read The Alchemist?
No, but I've heard of it.
Mm. Well, anyways, sometimes the treasure that you're seeking is like right in your own backyard. And that's kind of a metaphor in The
Very,
Alchemist, but
very
also
literal.
in my life is, what I really want right now is like right where I am. And so it's a really special opportunity that I have. And so I'm taking full advantage of it.
That's so badass. I love the children's book thing, and also the whole unplugging deal that you do. Do you do that every what 3 months, 6 months,
Yeah,
year?
I would do, for a while I was doing Joshua Tree like 3 or 4 times a year. Um,
Wow. How long?
and
Like a weekend, a week?
Yeah, a weekend, just a weekend.
No
Um,
phone,
no,
just emergency. Like
yeah,
emergency
I
use
mean,
phone kind of thing.
yeah, it's there, but I'm not using
Not
it.
that there's many emergencies out Joshua Tree.
Not usually.
All right.
Um, but yeah, it's nice. And like, I was so reliant on digital media, when I like worked in it, and then when I started painting full time, that's the only way I knew how to spread the word about my business. And so like I DM'd all those athletes and promoted my work. Um, I have since pulled back almost entirely from social media. I still do use Twitter,
I was gonna
but
say I don't. I tried to find you on Instagram, and it looked like you weren't really that heavy as I'd
no,
imagine an artist to be. I figured you'd have a gabillion posts, of beautiful pictures on there.
mhm,
Because I was doing my little research, research dump,
mhm,
and I'm like, well, all right, fuck Instagram. I guess I'm not looking on there.
yeah. Well, I used to do that. I used to add to my story every day and try to stay current, that like I had a whole calendar of, oh, I got to share this Topps card and then this thing I'm doing.
It
And
is
then,
so hard.
yeah, I mean,
To me, it's very hard.
It is. It's like, to me, it's like, it's a big distraction. Because I realized, that's Aubrey. So she's a loud age right now. She's 4 and she doesn't talk. There's no normal volume. It's only
no volume.
no volume
No
control.
volume control.
Yeah, I started getting into meditation. Is really what started it. Is I'm on a live podcast. Will you just put that there? Thanks.
With like pranayama breathing, or just
it was a book called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And it's a phenomenal book. It's like the science behind why meditation works. To me, that's just interesting stuff to learn about.
Oh yeah.
I'd always like kind of been interested in meditation, but never really like found something that like spoke to me. And in that book, he talks about a few different kinds of meditations. One of which was a walking meditation. And so you kind of get yourself in this headspace where you're zoned out basically, but you are like walking, your eyes are open, you're out in the world. And for whatever reason, I was like, well, I could use like more steps. I could walk more. That's a good thing. And so I started getting up in the morning, doing a little morning ritual, in my house, before ever like turning on my phone or looking at email.
I have to break that habit. I have the worst habit of immediately, because my alarm is my phone. So click the phone, I unplug it, I go to the bathroom. As soon as I'm done, I'm on my phone and I'm checking what I got to respond to that day. And the more and more I think about it, and the more and more hear people talk about it, they're just like, yeah, give it an hour,
Totally. Yeah. And that's what I did. I had like a pretty short morning ritual, use the bathroom, brush my teeth, drink a full glass of water, journal a little bit. But then I would hit the road and I would just go walk my neighborhood. And it was cool. This was at the tail end of my New York stint, which just ended. But I didn't even really know my neighbor. I hadn't really like been that many places in New York. And like, by the time I left, I'd walked
everywhere.
Several bridges. Yeah. Everywhere. I'd like meet up with friends and they'd be like in like Upper West Side, Manhattan, and I'd be in Brooklyn. And I'd be like, cool, I'll walk.
Wow.
But
was it like 30 minutes, an hour? Walking?
Usually it was an hour.
Okay.
In the morning. And I would usually I'd try to be like back at my apartment by like 9 a.m., which is when everyone, like at that time I had some clients and like,
time to work
expectations. And so I would be ready to rock at my computer if I needed to be. But I started doing that, and then I would get back to my computer and I just kind of faded out of like posting on Instagram every day, or, doing some of the things that I had been doing before that, where like that hour in the morning that I was now filling with walking, I used to like be scrolling, whatever. And I just kind of slowed down, and like nothing changed. Like people didn't ask if I was okay. My business didn't change. I still sold paintings or didn't. Like, it was just like my life just kept going. And I'm like, well, why would I go back to this thing that like I was like felt like a slave to? And then now all of a sudden that I've like released it, I'm like, oh, that's like,
I'm free.
Doesn't miss me, but like the world won't, like nothing is changing, so
right.
And I just started peeling back, and I turned my Instagram account because I want to like leave it up. It's on the back of a lot of my sports cards, has a link to it, but I just put like time capsule 2021, 2022. You can see some of the stuff I did.
Gotcha.
But outside of like that tweet that I shared, I guess that was last night. There's a handful of people that know that I'm doing a children's book, but like not very many people know that like that's like the only thing I'm doing now. And I'm like that, like locked into it. And I think it'll be exciting when it launches and everyone realizes like, oh, what about the sports stuff? And I feel like that ran its course. I've painted over 1,000 athletes now. And
wow.
it's like I can only paint someone doing an athletic pose so many different ways that like it doesn't feel like a challenge anymore. It's not fulfilling, and so I'm gonna
What's
go
the
find
biggest
what
what's
it
the
is.
biggest name you've gotten approached by? Or have when I say biggest name, I would say, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, the
Yeah.
you know,
Um, well, I did one for Kobe's
Cal
agency.
Ripken.
I did a Kobe for his agent, but that was after Kobe had died, sadly.
Rest in peace.
Um, I did Drew Brees. I
Hmm.
did Joe Montana.
Hmm.
Um, for soccer, I did Ronaldinho. And
Wow.
got to meet him. That was a big one. That was also, I guess it's been about a year now, but that still feels fresh. That's like
Yeah.
that's like the biggest name I've done recently. Is him, because like all the stuff I do through Tops, like I don't ever interface with the players.
I was
Like
gonna
it's
say, yeah, you probably don't even meet
yeah,
him
I
really,
met
or
a couple of them. Andrew McCutcheon I connected with through Tops. Brett Phillips,
hmm,
Mark McGuire is a friend now, which is amazing.
that's
But
badass.
genuinely, like Tops isn't like building those relationships. But those other ones I mentioned, like Ronaldinho, was like direct for him and got to meet him and stuff. So
Did you watch World Cup? Since we're
I
talking
did.
soccer, real quick, it was
I did.
fucking insane.
The final was
It's
awesome.
insane. It was
It was
amazing.
really good. Yeah.
Man, I'm still stuck on I like segued away from the book, but yeah, I definitely think you should drop it because
Yeah.
now I want to read it. My daughter reads the same book now. We've been reading the same damn book for the past 3 weeks now of Bluey's Veranda Santa. So you'll
Mm,
have to watch Bluey and shoot me a DM and let me know uh,
yeah.
how good it is. I'm sure you'll be like, "What the?"
Yeah.
It's on Disney. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm fascinated by like children's shows, for my niece and nephew, but also just for like learning. Like I'm thinking Bubbles and Cactus will be an animated show in what'll feel like no time at all.
1 year, 6 months.
One that I recommend, by the way, like I'd say my favorite like contemporary kids show right now that I would equate to like what I want to do with Bubbles and Cactus is called Stillwater. Have you heard of that
Oh, I
one?
haven't seen that. No.
So Stillwater is a big panda, and he lives next door to a family, and with kids, and the kids come over and they have some type of problem or issue, and he's very zen. He meditates and has his little rock
Oh,
garden, and so he like gets them on the right path of realizing that whatever they think are problems aren't really problems if you just change your perspective a little bit.
what's
Um,
that on? What's that show on? Like
hmm,
PBS or something or regular TV? No
I
one
don't
has TV anymore.
no, we don't have regular TV. We probably watch it on Apple TV,
Okay.
what we use a lot of. I mean, it's hard to keep up because like we have, Netflix and
Every
Apple
streaming
TV,
service.
like all those. Yeah. I think it's on Apple, but
Okay.
highly recommend it. Good message, like calms the kids down.
Oh man, yeah. Well, I'll throw it on tonight.
Yeah,
See if she de-blueies herself for a little bit.
yeah. So with the book, I'd love for you, you as a parent, I'd love your input on this. So my plan is to release one book a month of next year. So I'll publish 12 books,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna self-publish them. And I was thinking about doing a subscription. And so
Hmm.
and that's actually what I think I'm gonna launch right before Christmas, which is I have a couple days now. Uh, is
Heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, it is. No, this is the first time I've really talked about this at all out loud. Is if you need a last minute Christmas gift for your significant other, you could get them a year's subscription. So they're going to get 12 books, and they're all going to be sequential. So you can read one. I mean, they'll all be standalone, but if you read them all in order, like there'll be little things that you can pick up from story to story. And so I
That's
think
awesome.
I want to do like a subscription box that hopefully is like more than just the box will have the book itself, but then also some other activity that you can do with the kids. So like one month it might be a coloring book. Maybe it'll be refrigerator magnets. I also have like kind of some books that are set up where the kids can do like a choose your own adventure and kind of
Hmm.
assemble it and like create the story themselves a little bit. I'm just trying to think of like fun
I love
interactive
it.
stuff that like parents and kids can do together that will like keep Bubbles and Cactus fresh in their mind every single month.
Yeah,
And
that's fantastic. That's a great way to kind of tie it all in. I know you do those sometimes, the giveaways, or you do these like bundle mystery box kind of things,
Yep.
and I'm sure that's where some of that's kind of being pulled from, some of that inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's killer because there is some, like book. I can't remember what they're called, but book subscription services for kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just books. Like you're just getting however many books, and that's it. But I like the idea is like you get a book for January, and this is what kind of comes with it. And I guess you could always grow on it if you wanted to upgrade. Upgrade your subscription with this.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's just such an awesome idea, and yeah, I'll subscribe,
Thanks,
like,
man.
comment, subscribe.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
I'm excited about it. I think, and like also in terms of like accountability, right, to everyone on the internet. If I say, all right, you're going to get a book a month all year, then it'll help me. Like
you better have that book.
yeah, I mean that's my goal, right? Is I want to write a book a month. I want to publish a book a month. I've already written uh, chunks of a ton of them, but I need to get them like finished and published and shipped. And like as a creative, sometimes that's a little bit like you
The
can
not
just
fun
more
part.
resistant. Yeah, well, no, it's just like it's a little scary to put something out into the world, like because I'm a perfectionist and like this is my first children's book, and like I'm only gonna get one first, and I don't want to put it out there and then a month later be like, oh shit, I should have waited, because like with paintings, it's great because like when I finish a painting, and this has happened for me for almost the whole time I've been doing it, is I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever made. I love this. Like my favorite thing. And then like I'll look back, even a month later and be like, oh no, I can do better
I
than
should
that.
have.
You know.
Yeah.
And I don't ever like with the paintings, it doesn't really matter. Like I don't care. But it's just funny that I can look back and see something and be like, wow, when I made this, I thought this was like the best thing I'd ever done. And now I look at it and I'm like, it's fine. And so, I
Who
kind of like,
painted that?
yeah,
Who the
I'm,
hell painted that?
yeah, I'm just balancing that with the children's book and, being my first children's book, I'm a little, uh, more nervous to like put something else out like that than like what people already know me for, I guess. Just feels
Yeah.
safer. So it's good. It's like I'm relishing that discomfort, but leaning into it. Yeah.
It is nice. It's I can relate. My first episode. I mean, this is only episode 6 of hopefully
Great.
thousands.
That's
And
awesome. Most
my
people
first
don't get
one,
past 3 probably.
and it's funny because I was nervous today. Usually it kind of goes away once the cameras are kind of rolling and stuff, but I'm
Mhm.
in my head most of the day, like kind of going through the. It's not even an interview. If you notice how we're like talking, because I'm not big on like, hey, so you grew up here. What do you do now? I think that's super weird, and this ain't CNN. But my first episode was with a card guy, the guy who owns Burbank Sports, and I'll never forget me filming it, and I was like, shit, people are gonna see my face.
Mhm.
People are gonna see like the logo. Is this gonna be cool? What if I talk stupid? What if I swear too much? Because I have a massive problem with that.
Mhm.
All these things go through your head, and then you just gotta kind of say, dude, just do it and embrace whatever comes your way, and just keep just keep mastering that craft. Nobody's amazing their first run. um
Totally.
but I totally get that whole like, oh shit, all right, is this gonna be good? Am I gonna do this one? And I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll look back and be like, oh, maybe we could.
Yeah.
Great. I guess the great thing about a book is you can just keep making new stories, man. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even if I do like book 1 and do like the first editions of it, I mean, books change. That's why there's first editions and second editions because
right.
change. So that's like something that I like tell myself that like it doesn't really matter, and the kids certainly aren't going to care.
No,
Uh,
definitely
you
not.
know, and yeah, I don't know. I'm really proud of it. I'm excited to put it out there. I wouldn't have even put that poll on Twitter, but I saw the Elon Musk poll, and then I saw other people doing like the mock or like, saying, I will abide by the results of this poll. And so I'm like, oh, fuck it. I'll do one. And
I wonder
they're
if he's
all,
gonna abide by that now that you bring it up.
I think so. I think he wants out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
I
I don't envy him. I wouldn't want to run Twitter.
Oh, hell no. No way, dude. Do you plan on staying on Twitter?
Yes, and you know,
Would that be your one platform that you are kind
yes,
of?
for me personally, I think I'll just stay like tapped in on Twitter. I mean, I'm definitely like less. I'm not on Twitter on my phone like I used to be all the time, tweeting as much as I was or engaging in consuming content. It's much more like intentional and like very sporadic. I'll come in, I'll drop a tweet, I'll read my notifications, respond to messages, and then I'm done for
Boom.
the whole day. You know, I won't come back till tomorrow. But when the book comes out, I'll probably make like business accounts for Bubbles and Cactus across all like I'll do an Instagram again. I hope I don't have to run it. I hope I can just hire someone, but we'll see.
So I keep telling my wife, I'm like, can you please just do my Instagram? Because I
Yeah,
hate it.
yeah,
I hate it.
yeah. But to answer your question, Twitter's fun for me, and I enjoy um, that platform. It just feels most natural to like what I enjoy.
Yeah, same here. I like posting pictures and stuff, but it's just quicker for me to write a little quick, bam, bam, and especially with me with cards, it's basically all I do on there. I wanted to ask you the probably one of the last few things since we're running out of time. The back to the meditation thing.
Mm.
Are you sticking to that like hardcore every single day, 7 days a week? I
Yeah.
tried to get into meditation and oh, dude, it was hard.
Mm.
And I'm still, I don't know. Maybe I just need to do what you do and disconnect a little bit and be like, all right, I'm going to spend this hour. When I used to run long distance, when I lived in San Diego for 10 years, I got into, ultra running pretty heavy. And I was running the mountains in San Diego quite frequently. And if it was anything past a 35-minute to 40-minute run, I started getting into those mind states of, the runner's high thing. Yeah, sure. But it was more of a thoughtlessness, I
Mm.
guess is the best way to put it.
Mm.
And I would relate that mostly to meditation in a way. I
Mhm.
wasn't thinking about life. I wasn't thinking about music or a song or how
Mhm.
tired I was. It was just like, nothing, nothing. And a lot of people described to me, yeah, you were meditating, just you didn't know you were.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, to answer your question, I still do some type of meditation every day. Sometimes it's just a minute or two. And I'm not doing the morning walks like I was in New York. Um, Now that I'm like back in California and back on this family property, I'm on my feet working outdoors all day long. And in New York, I was sitting in my apartment, like not moving around as much. So I felt like I needed that walk.
Right.
And so now, my meditation is just sitting still and sitting quietly, comfortably. It's not like there's no rules. Like I don't have to like cross my legs and have, whatever. It just, yeah, yeah. Usually I sit in a chair and just put my hands on my knees, and close my eyes and just try to be still. And it's, I think a lot of people, there's like a misconception that like if you're good at meditating, like it's easy. Cause I don't think like I think I'm pretty good at meditating now, but I don't think it's easy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and every single time is different. Some days my mind is just like chatterbox, and it seems like it doesn't matter how long I sit there, it's never going to quiet down. And sometimes it chatters, and then it gets a little quieter and quieter. And um,
Did you
I
start
try
the
to.
meditation because of like anxiety or just life or wanting to just?
I read that book, Becoming Supernatural, and in that book, he also talks about like the power of meditation, of like people that are really good at it. You just have like a really good, uh, I don't know, like if you can control your mind, you can control
Yeah.
your whole world, right?
Mhm.
And so it's an ongoing process, but I just like I got the idea that like, oh, there's science behind this. This does work. Okay, if I just need to put in the hours and time, like I need to go all in on this. And it's brought me some really amazing ideas and inspiration, motivation to do something that maybe I'd been neglecting to do for months. That was like a stupid 5-minute task. And sometimes I'd sit down for a meditation session and I'd sit there for 5 or 10 minutes, and I'd come out because like I basically just sit there as long as I can until my body is like, you got to go do something. Like we got to go. We
Oh
got to go do
wow.
this. Right. And like I said, sometimes that's like super short, but it's nice when I can like sit there for a while. But like even those times, like I might sit there for a while and then all of a sudden I'll be like, okay, fuck, I just need to do that thing that I've been putting off. Right. And I'll get up and I'll just go do it. And then it's done. And then I'm like, wow,
Why didn't I do that before?
I just realized, wow, now I don't have that baggage. Right. That's not bouncing around in my head. And so
Right.
I'm just trying to like whittle down those things that bounce around in my head and do the best I can. But yeah, man, I highly recommend the meditation stuff. And I think that if you check out that book, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza,
I will.
that's what like turned the corner to me. Because I knew beforehand, I knew it was important and it was like potentially strong, like could do cool stuff, but I never like had taken the time. And for whatever reason, that book is like, that just put me in the headspace to be like, all right, fucking let's go do it. And
That's
that was like,
badass.
it's probably been like 4 months now. And I would guess I've meditated 90 to 95% of days. Like there's definitely are some days where just wake up later than I expect. Like I don't usually set an alarm. I just wake up when I wake up and then I go do what I need to do.
Sure.
But some days I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, I'm a little bit late. I got to go here. And like, I just might miss a day. That's okay. But usually I can find some time. I'm also like, I'm pretty ADD and bounce around in my daily life. And so like early afternoons, oftentimes I'd be like, I've been in this room doing stuff for 2 hours and I don't even know what the fuck I did. Right? I did a little bit here. I did a little bit here. I paint a little paint here, but like, I don't have anything to show for this. And when I feel myself kind of bouncing around, like not really producing any results, is like now to me an indicator. Okay, just go sit down,
Center.
take 5 minutes and just relax. And that's like when I'll sit there for 5 minutes and then I'll come out of it and be like, okay, I need to do this. I'll just know like I have to go do this thing and I'll go do that thing until it's done. It's just has kept me like,
As opposed to popping an Adderall.
like, yeah, well, I've been on several ADD medications throughout my life. And I do think that there's a lot of value, right, in those treatments, but it's also nice to like meditation gives me some benefits that Adderall does, but without the side effects of feeling like jittery or
juiced. Yeah.
loss of appetite, or like just too wound up.
Such a crazy drug. I've taken it myself for a while, and man, I'll never forget it. I haven't taken it in a very long time, but God, I still can't believe it's like a thing you can get. And for those that don't know, Adderall is a drug for people that have ADHD, ADD, and it'll lock you in. That's for damn sure. Whatever's in there, whatever magical things they've concocted. But I love the natural approach to things. Sometimes I find I preach a lot of the workout stuff, and hardships of workouts can make you kind of calm down. If you beat yourself down once a month pretty bad. Me and a close friend of mine try to do it once or twice a month. We're, separate places, but we'll usually message, be like, oh, this one was not good. Good luck. But usually after I'm done with that or done with one of those crazy long runs, I'll feel like, oh shit, mind's clear. I'm a little more focused. I might be exhausted. But yeah, I feel a lot in it. Centered. Centered, I guess, is a better word to use. Yeah. And to segue to the last thing, I'm just curious because I know you are in that realm of the NFT crypto world. Are you still, pushing along with that? I mean, I know the children's book now is, full focus and all that. Are you still doing your own NFTs? I know the crazy world of crypto has become like a FTX, bomb everywhere. That's all everyone wants to talk about. I still know a lot of people that are making money off of crypto and laugh at me every day for not, dipping my toe in that realm. Not so much the NFT realm, but more in the, crypto realm. Are you still doing that?
Uh,
Or are you
yes
pushing the
and
brakes now?
no. So I rode the wave very well as an artist. NFTs and the whole crypto market afforded a lot of artists opportunities to make life-changing money.
Yeah.
And I was in the right place to be involved in that and like help produce some projects that I'm proud of doing and got paid pretty well to do. Um, I'm definitely not as active as I once was, where I was like buying other people's projects and trading, really being as much of a collector and a consumer as a creator.
Sure.
Um, I've just pulled back on that, and that was partially because the market is what it is, and also just like really my locked in laser focus of interest on this children's book, which may have a Web3 tie-in at some point. I have put some ideas down on paper of how I could make a blockchain related children's book, basically, that could be educational about the blockchain, because it's complicated shit, right? And if I can figure out
It's-
how to write it so that a 5-year-old understands it,
oh, wow.
probably be onto something. So I don't know. But yeah, it's certainly not a focus for me right now. I'm involved helping creatively with a couple projects to bring them to life and fulfill all my commitments there, but I'm not like actively pursuing new opportunities in the NFT space right now. Maybe in the future that'll change, but yeah,
Yeah,
pulling back
that's
from the internet as a whole, really like just trying to be like really present in like where I am, and I wanted to kind of be like I know you mentioned earlier, oh, some people want to be Instagram famous and drive the
mhm.
Bugatti. I don't want that at all. There was a time where I wanted to be like Twitter famous or whatever.
Sure.
I don't anymore. I don't want people to know everything about my life like I used to, and I want like the people that I'm close with that I want to stay in contact with. Like, hey, if you want to talk to me, come find me. Like,
Sure.
you should know where I am if we're like close like that, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I've just like pulled back from the internet has been really nice, and so that means leaving NFTs and Twitter,
Digitalness.
yeah, and digitalness mostly alone, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great, man. And I'm getting ready to let you go. But biggest thing I want to say is I love the children's book idea. I'm happy we touched on that, and
Me
I'm
too.
guessing that everyone's going to see you and be like, "Oh, they're going to talk about sports cards," and they're gonna you're
Yeah,
gonna have another thing coming if you listen to this podcast. Because I think we talked about that for 10 minutes, and everything else was children's books and meditation.
yep.
And I'll thank you again, brother, for coming on.
Sure thing,
Uh,
man.
I hope I can have you back. Maybe I'll lean on you for guests.
Yeah, man. I'm
uh,
sure I've got some interest for you.
and yeah, just want to thank you again. Is there anything you want to? I know you're getting off of social media technically, not totally, but anything you want people to look out for, follow,
Mm.
subscribe to, or just stay
Yeah.
on the Twitter and follow Blake Jamieson?
Yeah. I'm still available on Twitter if people want to reach out. And then keep
He's
an eye.
good at responding. I'll tell
I
you
do.
that.
I respond to everyone, just not at all times of the day, just once a day or once every 2 days. I'll go in and go through all my messages. But yeah, just generally Bubbles and Cactus. You heard it here first. It's going to be a big deal.
Bubbles and Cactus, people. I'm going to need a T-shirt.
There will be t-shirts.
I figured. All right, man. Thank you very much, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Tasty Brains Podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all that. And we're out.
Thanks.
Peace. Thank
Bye.
you, Blake.